Hello, welcome to Possibilities Cafe. Possibilities Cafe podcast is dedicated to women looking to up-level their lives, looking to become the most powerful self they can be, willing to do the introspective work to step into their calling and to step into their soul's purpose. The main theme in Possibilities Cafe is to ignite your possibilities and understand and know in your heart everything is overcomable. Today is January 1st, 2021. New year. We made it through 2020. It was a tough year for so many people. Too many job loss, too many lives lost, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief. Although, but on the other hand, I know people that found themselves in 2020 because when you were home alone or you're home with your family, it's a lot of family time that people weren't used to having. So you had to decide, do you really like each other or not? And I have so many friends that have been emailing me and texting me saying, man, I am so in love with my husband or so in love with my wife. I'm glad we had this time together. There was time with the children because the children were home from school. I'm fortunate. My daughter's older, so I didn't have that dealing with that online school programming. But I still had to deal with me. I have been on, as you know, a 20, 30-year-old year journey to constantly be looking within, constantly be healing what can be healed, because I really want to walk in my soul's purpose. And for the most part, I walk in my soul's purpose, but I always kind of knew, especially in the past year or two, that something was holding me back. Somehow I kept attracting the same people into my life. And if you attract the same people, the same circumstances, the same routine into your life, you need to look at it. Why was I attracting people into my life that kind of functioned as something that would reject me? And it could have been an employee, it could be a friend, it could be somebody that at a fast food place. Because when you have belief systems and values, they collide. Now, in my new online course, Becoming Your Most Powerful Self, I talk a lot about beliefs and about values. But in it, you really have to figure out what you value and what do you really value. Because you'll do the value sheet and they'll be like, yeah, I value recognition and I value motivation and I value healing and I value leadership. But if you're not achieving those, you're out of whack. Something's not there. And for me, I finally realized, and this is, I've done a lot of healing. I finally realized that at the end of the day, I fear rejection. I never realized it. And this rejection has come into play with how when I get to a certain level of success, I will stop. I will blow it up because when I get to a certain level of success over the years, rejection would happen. When I was younger, my mother would reject me, and I'll get into that story in a bit. When I was in the military and I lost a lot of weight and I was working in ICU and I was receiving a lot of accolades for the military, my best friend rejected me because she just, oh, you don't have enough time for me. I was going to school full time and working full time, so no, I didn't have time for anybody, not even myself. Well, maybe to have drinks at the bar. And then as I got into my middle years, I had a really good job and everybody rejected me because I was on track to become the first woman, area sales manager. So whenever I touched success, things blew up. Well, that's the universe's way of saying you need to look and see what's going on inside you. And because I had this fear of rejection, I became an over-the-top people pleaser, which, when you're a leader doesn't really bode well. So I had to sit down and figure out where the rejection comes from. And whenever you're trying to look at a belief or look at your values, you need to sit down and visit different parts of your life. For me, I always do it in fives. I don't know why. I'll do, I'll look at, 5-year-old Karen, 10-year-old, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 45. I'm 63 now and just now realized about rejection. See, this is how it works. You're never completely healed. Life is a journey. And I realized I started seeing this theme of rejection. And if you have trauma in your life, and I think most women have some form of trauma in their life, it doesn't have to be sexual abuse or physical abuse. It could be trauma of any kind. In your life, it makes you operate differently. Now, my rejection came from my mom was a very brittle diabetic. She took 3-4 shots a day. I mean, I wish so badly she was here now with technology the way it is, because she would have had a pump and things would have been so much easier on her. Her diabetes, I mean, a lot of it is made it the struggle because she didn't follow the diet as well as she should have. But, my dad was a party guy. My dad was a leader, and, she'd always have to go to these parties, and she was tired of standing out. She stood out in high school because she was left-handed. Then she became a diabetic. So that's her shadows. I could go on for them for a while. But when her diabetes would become out of control, she would get mean and angry. Well, she didn't want to be that way around the children. So when she would feel that and she was trying to get the orange juice, or we'd be running, getting her orange juice, or running and getting her candy bar to help her, she would push us away because she didn't want to be that mean, ugly person. What she didn't realize is she was rejecting us. She was rejecting me in my mind. And it doesn't matter what she was doing. Your beliefs, your values are how you interpret it, not how the person interprets it. I mean, you could have the person say to you, well, that wasn't how it was intended, and I didn't think I did that. It doesn't matter. It's how you interpret it. So I interpreted it as being rejected. And I couldn't people please enough because she was a diabetic. It didn't matter what I did. It was never going to help her not go into diabetic shock. And diabetic shock was, as a child, especially, I mean, as I got older, I got used to it. But as a child, it was traumatic to watch. So you had this trauma taking place, and the rejection taking place, and the people pleasing taking place. You can just see how this was just explosive. So it didn't matter what I did in life, I would get to this certain point. And if this resonates with you, let's talk, DM me, email me. Because if you get to a certain place and something stops, or you're on that hamster wheel, you're on the hamster wheel because there's something right there that you can't move past. I mean, once I realized that I had this fear of rejection, and once I realized that I kept attracting people into my life that would indeed reject me, then it was like, okay, now I understand. And because I'm 63 and have ignored it for so long, the universe really put somebody in my path to cause a train wreck, to cause I don't want to say traumatic, but in a way, because I really thought that I thought we were better friends. There was a whole host of stuff, but it just exploded in literally 24 hours. And I mean, the friendship's over, everything's over, because she had always operated that if she could reject me as a people pleaser, I would go back. And I had hit the point where I wasn't quite sure what I was running, but I knew it had to stop with this person. So, and let's just sit down and talk this through, because that's me. It was a let's blow it up and never want to talk to you again type relationship. Before I get another person in my life to reject me, I knew I had to heal it. So I had to do the deep dive to figure out what it was. So when you're running the same patterns over and over again, look at yourself as a child and really sit with it and put yourself into scenarios. Say you run the pattern that, drinking. I've had, struggles drinking my whole life. It has been an ongoing struggle, and I'll do a podcast on that another day. But say that when you get upset, you always reach for a drink, or you reach for a cigarette, or you reach for a chocolate bar. What you need to do is go through that as a child and figure out, how did 5-year-old or 7-year, whatever age you pick, react when bad things happen. Whatever you're dealing with, go back and ask yourself how you did, how you dealt with it, because that's where you'll run into these. Now, when you have a big shadow, and for me, rejection was a huge shadow because I never knew it was there. I mean, I am considered a powerful, influential woman in my, full-time assisted living, running an assisted living association. I would never have thought it was there. If you would have told me that you have trouble with rejection, I'd be like, are you kidding me? No way. I'm a lobbyist, for God's sakes. I get rejected all day long, but it's a certain kind of rejection. And that's the piece I was missing. So when you really in 2021 and you start breaking out and you start looking back at what you learned in 2020 and the lessons you learned, you're going to really want to start healing the shadows, because if you don't, it'll keep showing back up. That's how the universe works and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why I always say when the phone rings, answer it. When God calls you to look at something, do it, because it'll just, and with me, it was that cataclysmic explosion that, came out of the blue, was my wake up and something isn't right with me. You know, a lot of times we want to look at the other person or whatever episode and say, well, it's, that happened or this happened. Learn to look at yourself and say, could I have done something better? I'm not saying everything's, you know, is my fault or, you know, blame yourself for everything. But when something happens, I like to take a minute and think, okay, could I have prevented this? Was there something I could have done? And, you know, in this situation, there was nothing I could have done. It was the path that had to happen. It was the universal path that had to happen. So nobody was at fault. It's just the universe was just tired of me screwing around and not looking at that shadow. So it put a choo-choo train in my way that we'd hit each other and explode. Take the time to do the inner work. I think 2021 is going to be an amazing year because a lot of people found stuff in 2020 and started healing it. But now you've got to really heal. Now you got to do the deep dives, because when you first find shadows, you find the easy peasy ones. You don't find the more challenging ones. The more challenging ones are a little harder to find. And that's where I come in. So if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. If you're like to watch my videos, because I am also taping this as a video. If you like to watch my videos, check out my YouTube channel, Karen Barno. I do IG. I'm on TikTok for the first time, so we'll see how that goes. But check out my program, Become Your Most Powerful Self, to own your power and to step into who you are, even if you're successful. Because I find successful women a lot of times had the deeper blocks because we had to block it to get to where we are. But then when you get to that certain point, it could be an income level, it could be a job title, it could be a car given to you, whatever, that flips that switch. So kind of think of your shadows as a switch that gets flipped off and on. I hope this has helped you. I hope you have a marvelous January 1st, 2021. There'll be many more to go. I will be podcasting with much more consistency in 2021 than I did in 2020. And I look forward to working with you guys. And you can also join my free Facebook group, Possibilities Cafe, obviously on Facebook. And if you like to read, check out my Wine, Women, and Leadership free Facebook page, where it's a book club. We do a book once a month. We took a December hiatus, so we'll be back this month. So check it out. Here's to igniting your possibilities and you finding your blue rose. Have a great day, y'all.